All right, Facebook family, go ahead on tag and share. Let's get everybody in. We are live. Let's get everybody in. Go ahead on and tag and share. This is going to be an exciting show. So let's get everybody in. Certainly, we are excited about what is happening on today. It's Wake Up Wednesday right here on 95.3 FM. I want to say good afternoon to all of our Facebook family. Let's go ahead on and get everybody in. And we're live right here now in the number one, that's right, the number one gospel station in the land. That's why I'm saying that, because I'm on right now. I want to say good afternoon to all of you who are tuned in today. And today, it's an amazing Wednesday. So much is happening in the world. We just finished witnessing the trial. That's right. You remember, you saw it all on yesterday. And the verdict all happened on yesterday. A major step in a new direction for the nation. And we're saying that we must be mindful and must know that there is hope in the midst of everything we face. And today I'm excited about what's happening. I want to say good afternoon to all of you that are tuned in. I want you to go ahead on tag, share. We got an exciting show today. I want to give a big shout out to the Leon County COVID Vaccination Task Force. Dr. Elaine Bryant as the chairperson. Thank you so much for being a major sponsor on today's show. I want to say good afternoon to Cedric Sykes. I want all the men, go ahead on and tag your boyfriend, ladies, tag your significant other, tag your husband, your father, tag all of the men. Get them on today, because today's show is going to really open your eyes. I got three excited young men who are robust, who are known in our community, trusted voices in our community. And they're going to share their story. I want to say good afternoon to Apostle A.J. Fisher. God bless you, man. Go ahead on, tag those men. Get them in. Hey, listen, vaccination pop-up clinic. It's happening on Saturday at Truth Gathers Dream Center. It's located on High Road. Pastor Joe Davis. Listen, we got two amazing segments that's going to be happening today. And that's going to be a segment with our ladies. And our first segment is going to be with our men. Joining me in the studio is none other than my good friend and brother, Coach Harrison Smith. He's the director of CAM 1 Newton of the South. Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, good afternoon. Glad to be here.
Man, I'm glad to have you here. It didn't take much to get you here to talk about this experience.
It did not, man. I was excited about the opportunity to come and spread some information that I think will be helpful to the people in reference to the vaccination and to COVID.
Amen. God bless you. Also joining us through our virtual system, Coach Corey Fuller, young man who has really been in Gadsden County now and just really turning things around over there. I was just reading some information about you just the other day in worldwide news, what you're doing over in Gadsden with all of the young men, not just the young men, but the school itself and the county as a whole. Coach Fuller, happy to have you with us today.
Thank you, Pastor. I hope all is well with everybody. This subject right here is very dear to me. I'm trying to tell the kids that COVID is real, and I still don't think the people around the country, especially the young people, believe it. But it gave me an experience that I never want to experience again. So I had it in February. I can't wait till it's my 90 days is up, and I'm going to get me a shot or two.
All right, man. Well, listen, I'm excited about having you. Also joining us is a young man who, everybody knows about how powerful he was when it came to leaving college, going to Canadian, and then going into the NFL. The thing that I remember the most is he caught a ball for the Kansas City Chiefs and took it back almost 90 plus yards. None other than Mr. Tremar Vanover. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, Pastor. I'm glad to be on the show. I'm honored. I know everybody that's on the show, and like Fuller said, it's something dear to our heart because we went through it. And like you said before, it was one of the toughest things that we had to deal with. So anything that we can do to spread the word or help others to understand the situation, I'm all for it.
Amen. Well, listen, audience, I want you to go ahead on and tag and share because we got an exciting show in the studio with me that's going to help moderate the ladies facility. Facilitate is Miss Pamela Simmers. Want to say good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Pastor James.
Hey, I'm excited to have you because you are in the healthcare field, and we're going to dive more into that. And not only in the healthcare field, but you served as a leading supervisor on the COVID floor.
I did for a whole year.
For a whole year, and ended up with COVID. Hey, listen, I tell you, it's an exciting show happening today. There's a lot of hesitation. There's a lot of myths, and I know that many of us who are listening to the broadcast today, what makes this broadcast special is the men that I have joining me today. All of these men understand how important it is to keep your body healthy. They understand the value of working out. They understand eating properly. They understand all of that because all of them are athletically inclined. But they will tell you that in the midst of all of that, Coach Fuller, in the midst of all of that, does COVID care about that?
Yeah, now COVID don't care about your fitness, how much you work out, your age. It doesn't care about anything. I thought losing my brother was very hard, and it was hard. But I'm talking about physically. I've never been sick. I've never had a serious flu or cold. But COVID was a cold 100 times. And just that experience, I never wanted again. I don't want anybody to experience if they don't have to go through it because it's not guaranteed you'll live. I honestly believe out of the 500,000 people that have passed from COVID, all those people was not in bad health. I think that it gets to a point that you are getting defeated so bad about COVID, people just lay down and die. And, you know, I understand how it feels to be on a football field in 100+ degree temperature with equipment on, but COVID was like that on the inside of my body. For 4 days, my temperature was 100 to 104, and I finally just couldn't take it anymore. I was so dehydrated, hurting so bad. I went to the hospital for a day, and the next 2 days after that, it was really bad. When I got the IV put in me, and I had every symptom except the cough. So everything that's associated with COVID, and I like literally, my son, because all of us got infected by my wife, my son was the only one that didn't do anything to, and he was literally taking care of me and his mom hand and foot. I couldn't move for at least 15 to 16 days. The first 10 days of it, I thought I was gonna die, like literally. And I know how strong I am. I know how hard I work. And I just think my background in sports, being a football player and taking care of my body for so long, I really think it played a part into saving me.
Wow. Now you said something that was so important, and you said that in the midst of this, losing your brother, you said that was painful, but experiencing COVID was even more painful.
Yeah, because it works from the inside to out. When you lose somebody, everybody can see the pain, but with COVID, you can't see it. It is so strong, and it ravages your body. I lost over 20 pounds from COVID. It just does. You can't eat. You just, for 4 or 5 days, I was sweating like somebody had a water hose on me at night. When I wake up, everything was soaking wet. It's just so strong. I don't know what it is. Honestly, like even I know this, there's not a cure for it, but I know that shot is to help fight it off. But man, that strain I had of COVID, it couldn't have been a normal strain because I've never cried so much in my adult life. I know for 2 weeks, I had a tear in my eye every day. It's like that Monday I tested positive at 5:30 at night. COVID knocked on my door, and I'm going to tell it to you in the PG version. Coach Fuller, I'm here. We're going to see who the toughest now for the next 15 to 16 days. And it went to work, man. And that's a pain I don't want. I honestly can tell every man, every woman, every child, everybody that's listening to this feed, everybody that's on Facebook, if they put $1 million in front of me, cash money, and put COVID right there and say, you can have $1 million if you take COVID, I'm not taking COVID again for that $1 million. It's not worth it.
Wow.
And that's the God honest truth.
Wow. Well, you hit the mute button. We got to unmute you.
No, I'm not muted. You can't hear me?
Okay. Y'all hear you.
Yeah, I wouldn't take the money. I don't want COVID again. That's why as soon as my 90 days up, because I had it in February, I'm going to get my first shot. I just can't take that risk. I have young kids. I gotta live, and I got other things to do for the kingdom of God and to try to save young people. I don't want to experience that anymore.
Great. Well, certainly, Coach, we're grateful, and we're going to dive more into this. Coach Vanover, I want to ask you, Coach Vanover. I mean, because you're out there, I know you're coaching your son. He's an athletic young man. You say you tried to battle for about 3 days before you made a decision to go to the hospital. You made that decision. What's next?
Well, actually, it was my girlfriend and my mom that pushed me to go to the emergency room. She had been battling for 3 days trying to help me get over this thing, and she ended up contracting it from me, I assume. And because when I first went into the hospital, they took a test, and they told me that I was negative. So when they sent me to the hospital, the doctor looked at my exams or whatever, and he looked at my lung capacity. And he was just like, he'd been dealing with this for over a year now. He said he knows what the COVID looked like, and he said he can tell me for a fact that I got COVID. So they did another extensive test on me in the hospital, and they came in there and shoved the thing down your nose where you can almost touch your brain, feel like. Anyway, when they came back, he was just like, yeah, you have COVID. And that's where it went from there. And I ended up staying in the hospital for 12 days. And like Fuller said, it's hard to eat. You sweating, and even after you get out the hospital, you still have some of those lingering effects of the COVID. Like they sent me home with an oxygen machine. Sometimes I had to sleep with it at night along with my CPAP. And also, it's just crazy how this thing really affects your whole body. Like it challenged me mentally, like Fuller said, something that the NFL really didn't do. I mean, I went through some stuff with this COVID.
So what would you say to the men who are listening? Because right now, the percentage of men who are going to get tested, who are thinking about vaccination, is so low that they are feeling like it's not real. And I'm grateful for all three of you all, because all three of you all are voices that people can trust. You're in our communities. You're working with our young boys. You've had great success in your life. What would you say to men who are listening to us now by way of the air and by way of streaming?
I just think that this is one of the biggest myths too. When people get sick, they're scared to go get tested. You need to get tested right away. If you sniffling, coughing, anything, go get tested. I never got sick. I got tested that Friday because my wife said she was sick. I got tested that Monday and I got tested that Friday. And this is the thing about it. It hits you so fast. That's why you need to know if you got it. You guys need to go, you men, you need to take it serious. It's not a common cold. Somebody can tell you, and that's the part that kind of threw me off. I had got tested 11 times during football season, around the players and everything, never got COVID. You need to take this serious, because if you get it and you're not in physical good health, and you still gonna need some help from God to survive it if you get the wrong strain. Don't let nobody tell you. I believe this, and I'm gonna say this openly. They would not be giving us some medicine that's killing us, and they're taking the medicine. They're trying to open the world back up. They're trying to get rid of this virus as best they can, and they need us to get these shots. So everybody, you can listen to the YouTube, you can listen to people that's not doctors, follow the science, but take it from 3 people, 3 males that have had it, that have been high-level athletes, that it did a damage to us. Me and Vanover actually had COVID at the same time. So we got it at the same time, was in the hospital at the same time. And I tell the kids at the school all the time, listen, spread out, COVID is real. You're going to kill somebody that you love, and you're going to be talking about, oh, I wish I would have did it. It's too late when you infect somebody and they can't handle it.
The thing that surprised me and that was alarming to me was the fact that you can wash your hands, you can wear your mask, you can do everything that you think you're doing that's correct, and still end up with the COVID. That's what shocked me. Like when they told me, I was like, dang. And then at the same time, I had double pneumonia, COVID, and I had a strep throat at the same time.
Wow. Man, I tell you, it's a blessing to have you all here. Coach Harrison, you were able to witness family members passing, and then it hit you. I mean, what would you say? I mean, did you think that it could happen to you, or did you take it to being real, or what?
I took it as being real, but I didn't think it could happen to me. I had an uncle that was pretty healthy, stayed fit. He had went on a vacation up in North Carolina. Him and his wife came back home. Probably wasn't feeling well. Ended up at the hospital. A month later, he was dead from COVID.
Wow.
My wife has an aunt over in Cairo, Georgia, and she was on dialysis. Had somebody coming in and out. Less than 3 weeks, she's passed away from COVID. Time expired.
Wow.
And initially, when my wife contracted COVID, I went and slept in another room and said, I'm not catching that because I'm gonna stay in shape. I'm gonna do whatever. I'm gonna run, stay in the sun. And she kept saying, Harrison, you get tested. I took about 3 or 4 tests that said negative initially, and she convinced me to go back to get tested. I went up to FAMU to go get tested. I had no symptoms. By the time I got to the car and the text came that said you were positive, I started having a fever like immediately.
Wow, immediately.
Immediately, I started getting sick. I might have called Vanover Fuller. Somebody said, man, I think I tested positive for COVID. I forgot, the time span that went by. And man, for 2 or 3 days, I couldn't stop coughing. I was continuing to cough to the point where it was almost nauseating. And at night, I remember my wife was telling me not to sleep on my stomach. I had to not sleep on my back because I had to sleep on my stomach. And then she'd wake me up and tell me to do breathing treatments and do things. And it was painful. It was almost like being inside of a ice refrigerator and having to breathe and trying not to cough. Because I said, I'm going to control my coughing. I'm not going to cough. And to the point where it was almost like gagging. And some way, man, I would just go sit in the sun. And I was saying, I'm gonna fight this thing. I'm gonna beat it, because I was in denial initially.
Wow. Let's talk about that, because I think that we heard Coach Vanover say that. We heard Coach Fuller say it, and we hear you saying denial. It can't happen to me, even though it's there. I don't believe it. What broke you out of that denial?
Well, my wife broke me out of it. She said, if you don't go get tested, this thing take you out of here. And I went just to make her shut up, really. I actually went to get tested so my wife could leave me alone. And when I got there and they told me I was positive, she said, you better not go around nobody, you better not do nothing. And her nagging me really actually helped me go get tested and not go around anybody.
So what would you say? I mean, there are thousands of people who are tuned into our program today. As a matter of fact, Pastor Rollish Frazier, he's joining us all the way from Orlando. He said, thank Pastor for these interviews. So many people in our community think these shots were made to kill people of color. This is not true at all. So thanks again, Pastor Frazier. Listen, man, thank you so much. He's joining us from Orlando, Florida. So now this happened to you, and you've seen it. And today you're joining me along with Coach Fuller, along with Coach Vanover. And your plea to men is what?
My plea is exactly what Fuller just said. Go get yourself vaccinated with this vaccination so you can help prevent the spread of COVID and also help protect yourself.
Wow. Let me ask you this. Since you have been vaccinated, have you witnessed any people around you that have had COVID still?
No, I haven't witnessed anyone catching COVID. And actually, after I got vaccinated, I took 2 Tylenol pills because someone recommended me that I take it. But I didn't have any soreness. I actually forgot what arm I had got shot in.
Wow.
I didn't have any symptoms from the shot. I didn't have any soreness on my arm. I had nothing from the shot that I received.
Wow. I want to come to you, Coach Fuller, and then Vanover, I want to come to you because you're going to be with me for a whole hour. The first segment, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are tuned into the broadcast, I'm talking with Tamari Vanover, Corey Fuller, and Harrison Smith, 3 voices in our community that we trust, 3 young men who are very athletic, 3 young men who have been making major impact in our community. And here they are today. They are voices that are crying out saying, hey, this is real. I want to go to you, Coach Fuller, because your days have been spent dealing with so many of our millenniums, and they are feeling like this is a joke. It's not real. It's not going to happen to me. And one of the hardest things that we're facing now is getting our young adults to understand how real this is. What are some of your challenges has been as you talk from a man of experience and a man who have gone through the fight of your life? You said practicing in the NFL is nothing compared to dealing with COVID.
No, I think that people don't. I think people don't realize that this virus, it doesn't care. You know, I try my best to get the kids to understand if you get this, because most of the kids that I'm around, they're being raised by older people. The community is not where it should be at health wise. So my challenge is just trying to get them to understand the distance. Stay away from each other. Stop being so close because this stuff is very powerful. I've never been sick until I had COVID. Like Benno had pneumonia, I had pneumonia, my kidney got infected, so they had to put me on medicine for that. Like the residual effect, it took me like 3 weeks to really feel like I tried to go back and work out. And normally when I work out, I have a lot of energy. It was the opposite. I was super tired from it. It just guys, young men, older men, my age, you need to go get vaccinated. If you don't, you're just taking a chance. Because once so many people get vaccinated and you don't have it, the herd immunity is going to be real now. It's just going to find a host to run into. And that's when I think it's really going to start killing people quicker than it was when it first came out. I've never been a cavalier. I never thought that it wasn't real. But in the Black community, we continue to listen to people that's not doctors, that's not scientists, and we're going to go by what they say. The one thing about people that push agendas, and I'm not saying they're wrong or right or indifferent, but they're gonna get the best treatment when they get sick. That's what they don't understand. Like you can't listen to they telling you don't need it. I don't care. I would say his name because Farrakhan said we don't need the shot. I listen to him just because he don't eat pork and all that. I don't think he's no healthier than me. But I do believe that if Farrakhan gets sick, he gonna need treatment. But these people are surrounded by people that's in their circles every day. They know where they're going. They know what they're doing. They're not letting people. But the regular world don't have that, and that's why you have to be careful who you listen to. And it's not just Farrakhan. It's a lot of other people out there. But I just know when through social media you see so much stuff printed about you can fight it. I thought I was strong enough. I got old blood type. My blood is old. The science said that old blood type should fight it off. That wasn't the case. And you need to protect yourself, and I think the best way to do it was a shot. I know the virus is strong. My boy's a heart surgeon. He got his blood tested when they first started giving the shot out. The antibodies in his body for 10 months. So that's how potent this stuff is. It's going to be in you if you get it, but if you're not strong enough to fight it, they won't have to get your blood. They're going to put you in the ground, and that's just the God honest truth.
Wow. I mean, I'm so grateful for you men today. And tomorrow, I want to ask you this because I know you said something that, man, it really caused me to really just think. You said that, for 12 days that you were in the hospital fighting for your life. And even after that, you're still living with the effects of COVID. What's your message to those you encounter now? Has this really caused you to look at life differently? I mean, what has happened? What transformation that has occurred in the life of Mr. Vanover?
For one, I just want to thank God for delivering me from the COVID virus. And also I want to give thanks to Capital Regional, the nurses, the doctors, and the physicians, and everybody that took care of me during this situation. They really did a great job. Made me feel at home. I didn't feel like I was alone. And to the people out there that don't believe that they need to take the vaccination, I'm telling you right now, you don't want to battle with this stuff. I thought I was invincible. I played in the NFL 6 years, played at Florida State University. I think of myself as a dominant male, but once I got that COVID, I was just like a little female. I was curled up in that bed, trying to listen to everything the doctor told me to do. And the only thing that's bad about the situation of being in the hospital is they wake you up every 3 or 4 hours, sticking you with those needles. That's the only part I didn't like about the situation. But as far as, like you said, giving people advice, I would advise you to do what's right. Because like Fuller said, you can carry this stuff to somebody else, to your older relatives at the house, and they're not going to be able to fight this stuff off as a healthy young person would be able to. So you just got to be careful, and you just got to do what's right. Like I said, you got to go out there and do what you need to do in order for the rest of the world to survive this thing and get this thing over with.
Great. Well, listen, I'm grateful, and Coach Harrison, I want to come to you because I know that you're going to be with us, a little while longer. But I know that being that you're around a lot of young guys, they're athletic. You're working with them on a day-to-day basis. What's your message to them and their families?
This is direct reflection to what Vandover and Fuller saying is, go and get yourself tested. All the preventatives that you can do are great, but they're not going to stop you from contracting COVID. All of the measures that you think that can help you avoid COVID, other than just staying in the house going nowhere, you still have the possibility of contracting COVID. The mental aspect that goes along with COVID is so detrimental to your health. Trying to, bear the burden of, I'm not gonna go anywhere, not gonna see nobody, not gonna go, do this. The first time I got a false positive of COVID, I was watching CNN news.
Oh my God.
And every news thing that came on about COVID, it was like, okay, man, you may have that. It said, your muscles start aching, right? It said, your muscles gonna start aching. And I forgot I had been working out, running. So I was like, I think my leg hurting. And they said, this is gonna start hurting, and like, the news made it worse for me by watching the news. And then I started saying, man, I can't even look at the news. Then I didn't want to call nobody because I didn't want to hear nothing negative. So I would make call full of Venom and say, look, man, I don't hear nothing negative, I hear something positive. And that actually kept me going. But for all the young kids, man, my mom, when I was sick, she came and bought she put some chili on my steps on my porch because I told her I don't want it in my house. I didn't want it around me, so she put it in a container that I could throw away because I was like, look, I was so sick, I was calling my mom. My wife was like, what you need? I was like, I need my mom. And she put my mom around the phone, and you can talk to your mom, like, get over here and help take care of you, whatever. So COVID is it's real. You can, for real, I was trying to avoid that. When they said I had COVID in my mind, I was still saying I ain't got it. Because I thought you had to be strong in your mind to overcome certain things. But I continue to listen to positive speaking engagements on YouTube, try to stay around positive people. And then I try to stay in the sun some. I would go sit on my porch and just get in the sun because I was weak. And a lot of it was just the fear of not knowing. And maybe a lot of young kids don't even know they have COVID, actually. I think people walk around with COVID don't even know they have it.
Wow. Well, listen. Yes, sir.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest things Harrison just said. Like, when you actually get COVID, the mind game that they play with you, because the first thing after you have watched the news when you didn't have COVID, like the first thing hit me was like, man, I can die from this. I got young kids. And then when you actually tell your people that in your circle that's important to you that you have COVID and they can't see you, like, listen to my mother after I got well. Talk about when she came to my house, she just broke down and cried because she brought us some medicine one day because she couldn't come in and see her child. And that's what people don't realize. It's just like somebody being locked up. You can't see them. When you get COVID, you're taking the risk of being dead. That's why you need to take it serious. And it's going to hurt a lot of people that love you because it's avoidable if you do the right thing. And a lot of people just think it's a game and they think that it's a myth. It's not a myth. You listen to 3 males that's pretty healthy, that's been pretty, like, I've never smoked, drank in my life. And COVID don't care about that. It don't care how many weights, how many laps, how many sprints we done did. When it get to moving, it lets you know it's the boss for that 3-4 weeks. It's the boss, man. I'm telling you now, it's the true boss of bosses.
Wow. Well, listen, I tell you, I am so grateful for the 3 of you all for joining us. And ladies and gentlemen, those of you who listen to the broadcast by way of streaming, by way of the airways. We're talking with 3 survivors, and there are many of you who are posting on Facebook that you survived. You survived. We applaud you, and we pray for those families who lost members to COVID. We know the loss has been a great impact because you could not have no contact with that family member. And there was a situation that we'll talk about later on when the ladies join us. But it has a devastating effect. And I want to thank you all so much for just carving out this time to just let your voices be heard to the world that I'm a survivor, and this virus is more painful than me working out with the Baltimore Ravens or the Kansas City Chiefs or the University of Georgia. It has impact. And ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are tuned into the broadcast on Saturday on High Road at Truth Gatherers Dream Center, Pastor Joseph Davis, we're doing the pop-up vaccination in our communities. That you need to be present. Do your research, but you need to make your way to the pop-up vaccination center. It's going to be at the Truth Gatherers Church on High Road. Pastor Joe Davis beginning at 8. And as Coach Fuller said, and I think Harrison, you said it best. You much rather take a risk. How did you say that?
I take the risk of the vaccination doing something to me rather than having COVID again.
Wow. Well, hey, gentlemen, with the closing remarks, I want to thank you. What would you say? I like what you just said. I'll take the risk of the vaccination as opposed to having to deal with COVID. Coach Fuller, closing remarks.
I will say this. You don't want it, so go get the shot. God bless you. And God gonna really need to bless you if you don't get that shot and you get COVID.
Thank you so much. Coach Corey Fuller, who has been a voice in our community, major impact, major influencer when it comes to the work that is being done on the forefront of so many issues that are targeting young African-American males. Amen. I hate that we let you slip over to Gadsden County. We should have kept you over here, but you're doing a great work over there and you're still making impact over here. So I'm thanking God for you. Thank God for our friendship. Mr. Vanover, in closing remarks, what would you say to those who are listening to this broadcast?
First of all, I appreciate y'all having me on the show. And to those listening to this broadcast, I'll say stay prayed up, do us right. If you need some advice, you can hit us up. I'll be on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, whatever else, Twitter, whatever else you got, I'm on there. So if you need some advice, you can hit me up. I'm quite sure Fuller is the same way, and Coach Harrison as well. And Pastor, I really appreciate the invite.
Well, listen, man, thank you so much, and thank you for all that you do. Hey, let's show some love for our men who celebrated with us today. Coach Corey Fuller, Tamar Vanover, and Harrison Smith. They're going to stay right here with us. I'm going to take a break, and I'm getting ready to bring the ladies into the studio for the next segment of COVID survivors. Don't go nowhere. Let this song bless you. I'll be right back.
Well, we good, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm gone.
All right, fellas.
I did it from the classroom. Thank you, man. Y'all be good.
Hey,
All
Fuller.
Yeah.
Hey, Fuller. Hey, shoot me your new number.
Yeah. Okay,
All
I'll
right.
call you when I get in the football field.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in denial with COVID.
I was too.
Oh, yeah.
I went back and got tested the next morning, but I ain't believe it.
Okay. Okay, Vaughn, let's bring in Miss Cassandra and Miss Linda. Okay, great. God bless you all. Glad to have you all. We're getting ready to dive right into it. How you doing, Miss Cassandra? Miss Linda, how are you?
I'm great.
Wonderful. Delighted
Thank
to
you.
have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Miss Cassandra, can you hear me? Miss Cassandra, can you hear me? Yvonne, check with Miss Cassandra to make sure. Okay, y'all ready?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, listen, for those of you who are tuned in to our Facebook audience, listen, we are excited to have you tuned in. Go ahead on and tag and share. We're getting into the next segment. This is a panel about females. Well, good afternoon, and we're back tuned in. You're tuned in to Wake Up Wednesday right here on Hallelujah 95.3. It's our COVID survivors show, and we just finished talking to three trusted voices in our community, three coaches, three young men who able-bodied, but yet they had to battle with COVID. And they shared their stories right here on 95.3. Well, I want you to know that we're moving into the second phase, and they always say ladies are first, but I thought I'll say ladies for last because I feel like this segment is really going to challenge you and is really going to create the kind of change that we're hoping to happen. Listen, also, I want you to mark down this Saturday at Truth Gathers on High Road. Pastor Joe Davis, Truth Gathers. It's the pop-up vaccination site. This is the third one that's being sponsored, and we're grateful for all of the partners that are making this happen. I want to say good afternoon to Miss Linda. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for allowing me to participate with you, Pastor James.
No, I'm delighted to have you, and I'm excited about you and your story and the information that you're going to share with our listening audience. Miss Cassandra, how are you? We're having trouble hearing Miss Cassandra, and in the studio with us is Miss Pamela Simmers. How are you?
I'm well, Pastor. How are you?
I am doing extremely well, and certainly, ladies, let me say I am so delighted to have you all join us today. As you probably heard earlier, we heard from three of our voices, from three of our men who were diagnosed with COVID and now survived, and you have had some of the same issues. Let's start with you, Pamela. You work in the healthcare field.
Yes, for the last 20 plus years.
20 plus years. Let's make sure that mic is to you. Okay, for the last 20 plus years, and one of the things that is so amazing about your story is that you were the leading supervisor on the COVID unit.
Yeah, from was it end of February when they took our unit from being a med-surg unit to a COVID unit. So the entire unit was COVID.
Okay, wow. And that was a whole year of being on the COVID floor, taking care of COVID patients.
Absolutely.
More than likely, Mr. Vanover probably was on your floor. Hey, Miss Linda, let's go to you right quick because I understand that you found yourself having to deal with COVID, and what would you say when it comes to how that happened, how you felt, and your thought process?
Well, like many people, I was in denial. I'm thinking, I've been careful. I've worn my mask. I've used hand sanitizer. I've stayed away from people that I thought had been infected. I thought that I'd done everything right. And when I started to feel bad, I thought, allergies, just a little cold or something like that. And then one morning I got up, I could not taste, I could not smell, and I'm like, oh, come on, surely this can't be. But at that point, I was pretty sure that I had COVID. I tried to think back to where I'd been, what I'd done, who I'd been around, and I could not identify anything that would let me know where I might have contracted it. Nothing. Um, and I was about to go out of town, and I thought, well, that's not happening. And so I went ahead, did the rapid testing, and tested positive, and just kind of went from there. I was feeling okay, not feeling good, but just not really really sick. And so I was already working remotely. I am an attorney, and I'm in private practice, so I've been working. And I blame myself for getting sicker because I didn't rest when I got tired, and it just led to additional consequences. But it was sicker than I've ever been before in my life, that's for sure.
Wow. Wow. Miss Cassandra, can you hear me now?
I'm here.
Great. So Miss Cassandra, you found yourself facing some of the same situations when it came to COVID. Tell us a little bit about how that felt, what you went through, because I know we talked earlier, there was a moment when you just could not believe it. You was in a little bit denial. Let's talk about that for those who are listening to us.
Yes, I work in healthcare, so during this whole COVID thing, we've been getting tested on a monthly basis, and from the beginning, I had been negative, and I just counted myself real blessed because I knew people that had been around me that had tested positive, and some had even passed. So we had a testing event one Saturday, and that Monday was going to be our test day at work. So she told us to just go ahead and get tested. My rapid came back negative, but on that Monday, my PCR came back positive. And at that time, I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, it came back positive. So she had me to come up the next morning to get retested, and me and my husband went because he said he wasn't feeling good, so we both tested positive. That first week, I was still able to work from home. I was feeling okay, but right about after that 7th, 8th day, I couldn't get up, I couldn't move. I had headaches, I was coughing, sweating real bad, and I sat home for probably about 2 or 3 days, scared to go to the hospital because I didn't want to be put on a ventilator. And so when I finally did go, they admitted me, did checks, x-rays, and of course I had pneumonia. And I stayed in the hospital for 7 days. And just like the guy said, waking up, getting shots every 3 hours. And also I was having to get insulin while I was in the hospital because my blood sugar had spiked. So once I got out the hospital, to my knowledge, I was still positive then, but um, the doctor said just as long as I could get my O2 saturations down to 3, that I could go home because they had me at 100. So after I got home that Thursday, they had another pop-up event for testing on that Sunday. And when I tested that Sunday, I was negative. So even though the process was long and hard, it was some moments there that I thought like, hey, what is going on? I can barely breathe. Just coughing where you have, you lose where you're incontinent because you can't control it. So, with the help of my husband, we had family members that bought vitamins. They was bringing everything that, people were saying, drink this or take this, that's going to help you with the COVID. They was dropping it off at the door, and we were just real thankful that we had that support to help us when we couldn't go out and do for our own selves. But my husband, he didn't, he tested positive that Tuesday, and I think by the next Friday, he was fine. He was negative. But for me, it was like a kind of long process. But they sent me home on oxygen, and today I'm not on oxygen because I was still a little short of breath. That's why they had me, come home on it. But as of today, I'm not on it, and I just thank God because there was scary moments like I'm not gonna be here, I'm not gonna make it.
Wow. Well, Ms. Cassandra, I certainly want to say we thank you so much for just being here. I don't want y'all to go nowhere. Pamela, I want to come to you now because, for a whole year, you worked on the COVID unit. You took care of patients along with your team. I'm sure there was great preparation during this process as you would go to work. I'm sure you would think about your own health issues, your own health or when you were working, and to realize that it had hit you? What was your thought process?
Well, initially, that Wednesday, which was December the 6th, I tested positive, and I didn't believe it. So that Thursday morning, I went back and tested again, and it was positive. Asymptomatic, other than a little light cough. By that Saturday, shortness of breath, nausea, vomiting, and I spiked a fever. So I knew I was in trouble. By that Sunday, I went to the hospital, was admitted. I was septic, meaning that it's categories for sepsis. And I was septic because I had an elevated temp, which was greater than 100.3. My oxygen saturations were about 87% on room air, meaning without oxygen, and that's pretty low. So I met that criteria, and I knew I was in trouble. So I went in up on the sepsis, hypoxic, low O2 oxidation status. So they immediately went and did a CTA, and that's when they do a scan of your lungs to make sure you don't have a PE, which is a pulmonary embolus. Because with COVID, it causes you to have clots, which are blood clots. I know everybody knows that we're talking about DVTs, and they can move. They can be in your lower extremities, move to your lungs, your heart, your brain. Very, very serious. Thank God that was negative. Then I went up on a unit in which I worked on.
Wow. Wait, so you were on the unit which you were taking care of patients.
Absolutely.
Now you're a patient on that same unit fighting, would you say fighting for your life?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And I came from a person that worked out 4 to 5 days, doing 15 to 10 miles on the cycle, plus upper body, lower body, and very, very conscientious about what I ate and what I did. And they always say I hovered. I was the mother on the unit because from the doctors on to EDS, which is housekeeping, I got on them about the proper PPEs, sanitizing. I had one person designated clean the doors and just make sure that we were being as safe as possible.
Wow. So when it happened to you, it was just.
Yes. Myself and co-workers and other people that I work with just couldn't believe it and just believed it because they know how thorough I was and how protective I was on the unit.
Wow. You know, Linda and Cassandra, I want to ask you this, Linda, with your own experience, what has this done for you as far as transformation, and what would you say to those who are listening to this broadcast today?
Well, I was pretty healthy before I had COVID. I'm in my 60s, and before that, I had been to the hospital one time in my entire life. And so, but you know what? Never during that process, and I did spend 2 days in the hospital with shortness of breath, and went home with oxygen, just like Miss Cassandra talked about. But I never thought that this was the time that the Lord would call me home. I always believed that the Lord would heal me. And I believed that I went through this experience for a reason, and it has increased my faith and let me know for a certainty. I believed believed all along, but for a certainty, I know that God is a healer. And I know that he healed me. And, I am so thankful, so very thankful for the staff at Tallahassee Memorial for the care that I received when I was there. And listening to and talking to the staff there and understanding that some of them, maybe even all of them, volunteered to work on that unit. And so to know that the Lord had placed people there to care for others, I'm blessed that I was not one of the ones that it was fatal to me. But for those who went into the hospital and did not leave, there's a level of comfort that I know that they would feel, because there was someone there who was not only providing medical care for them, but providing just personal care and compassion to them. And so this experience has certainly made me more compassionate towards others, and to be very thankful for good health. And and when I listen to folks who are far more athletic than I, and engage in far more physical activity, I'm thankful that I was not as sick as some others. As some others were with the process. And so I encourage people to please take the vaccine. Please take it. If you can do whatever you can do to prevent that, take it, because when you have COVID, you really don't know what's happening in your body.
Wow.
We still don't know necessarily what the long-term effects are of having COVID. And so I just encourage people to take the vaccine. My goodness, do your research, be prayerful above all things, but take the vaccine if at all possible.
Wow. Well, listen, today, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are tuned into the broadcast, we are talking with cancer. We're talking with COVID survivors. And Ms. Cassandra, I want to come to you right quick. And I want to say, when you were going through this process and you heard about the vaccine, what was your thoughts? And when you heard about the vaccine?
Well, actually, I was offered the vaccine in January when they first started giving them out by our employers.
You was offered the vaccine in January?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what happened?
I wanted to wait and see what it does. Kind of scared to take it. Waiting to see if anybody else would be affected by it or whatever. And then, hey, I get COVID. But as soon as I was able to, I called my doctor and consulted with my doctor, and they was like, they was encouraging everybody to get vaccinated. So I did get my first dose last month, and I get my second dose on Friday. And like Ms. Linda said, I've just been encouraging family members, friends, to get the vaccine. A lot of people are scared. I've been scheduling people for the COVID vaccine. And, they're asking the question, have you had it? Did you have any side effects? Because they really are scared. But I think that because they was giving me antibodies and the medication in the hospital, I didn't have any side effects from the vaccine. I was just fine. A little soreness on the arm, but nothing extreme.
Great. Well, certainly for those of you who are listening to the broadcast today, this is a very informative broadcast, because we are talking with survivors. I mean, when we look at the number of deaths that have taken place in the United States, well over 2 million, over 95,000 that have been infected. And here we are talking to those who beat the odds. Coach Harrison is still in the studio with us. And after hearing some of the ladies, hearing what they're saying, I mean, what's going through your mind? I mean, I can tell something.
It's almost as if everybody has similar stories in reference to their experience with COVID. It's first of, the part of, do I really believe I have it? I have it. What can I do to help speed up the process? Sound like everybody has similar situations. But the worst part of COVID is knowing you have it and the effect that it could have on you. It's like you have something that's detrimental to you, knowing that it could take you out, but having the hope that you're gonna overcome it. And that's the thing that's been that I've been hearing here, from hearing everybody go through their own experiences with COVID. Just having the part of knowing that there's something wrong with me and I need to go get help.
Wow. Pam, I want to come to you, because he said something that when I asked, how do you feel? Was you feel like you was in the battle of your life? He said, having that hope that you can get through it. Now you felt, here you are now, you're on the floor that you supervise, and your colleagues are taking care of you. What would you say about that experience? And what would you say to those who are listening when it comes to how important it is to be educated on this, be aware of it, and do research so that you can make an informed decision about your next health decision?
I'm gonna put it to you like this. I went from caregiver, nurse, supervisor to being a patient. I felt the isolation from being away from your family members. For the first 4 days, I was unable to even talk to my family members because of the shortness of breath.
Yeah.
Yes. So on the back end of it, my mom, which is 80 years old, and my immediate family said they felt helpless because they couldn't communicate with me directly. So they had to depend on nurses to give them information about my status and hope and pray. So I actually felt what patients and their family member felt from the opposite end. Now, me being a nurse, I went beyond, or I went the extra mile when a family member called to take the phone or whatever, so they could actually see and talk to the patients, because that was important because of the isolation and not knowing. Most times seeing is believing. So I experienced that firsthand. The first 4 days I was out of it. You know, the medications and I was very lethargic. The plasma, the remdesivir, the high powered steroids I was on. I mean, I just felt like COVID had just drew all the substance that I had. That was my experience. And it wouldn't let me go. I mean, that's the sickest I've ever been in my life. And looking back, initially, I was apprehensive about getting the vaccine. And I'm a healthcare provider. For the last 20 plus years, I was very apprehensive about doing it. But let me tell you something. A week ago, Wednesday, after I got my 90 days, I got Moderna. And then May the 12th, I get my second one. I'd rather have something in my system that can protect me if I get COVID again, Lord forbid. But I'd rather have something that protect me, because I felt like if I get COVID again and I'm not prepared,
You may not make it.
may not make it.
Wow. Hey, you know, listen, you're listening to three of our females panelists, Miss Pamela Simmons, you're listening to Miss Linda Edwards, and you're listening to Miss Cassandra, is it Mims?
Williams.
Mills, and they're telling you their story. They're telling you their story of survival, and they're telling you the transparent part of what they felt and what they believed that was going on with them, and even their hesitation about vaccination. But they made an informed decision to say, I'd much rather know that I have something within me to fight off COVID, God forbid, if it happens again. Well, listen, you know, we're out of time, but I'm never out of conversation. But Miss Linda, Miss Cassandra, with the few minutes that I have left, I want to give you a moment to just speak to our audience. And there are well over 10,000 people that are listening to us, either by way of face streaming or through the airways. They're listening. What would you say to them, Miss Linda?
I would say to them that if you believe that you have COVID, get tested. If you have not had a test or anything like that, find out all you can about the vaccine. Take the one that's available to you and be prayerful.
Wow. Well, Ms. Linda, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, sharing your story, another COVID survivor. Ms. Cassandra, what would you say to those who are listening today?
As Miss Linda said, get tested. And when you get tested and you know you're positive, stay from around people. I think some people know they're positive and they just don't have the consciousness to stay from around people. They just don't want to stay at home, and therefore they infect other people. So I just pray that if people are positive, that they stay home and quarantine and not infect anyone else. And then for those of us that are able to get the vaccine, I pray that they would. I pray that they read up on it and that God will give them the comfort for them to come forward and get the vaccine.
Great. Well, Ms. Cassandra, I want to thank you so much for sharing with us today. Thank you so much for just not being hesitant or reluctant to share your story about your journey through the COVID life. And Coach Harrison, what would you say in closing remarks to those who are listening to the broadcast today? I mean, your family was impacted by it.
What I would say to people, go back and play this again and listen to it and take some notes. Be proactive rather than reactive. Of course, I probably would have been in the hospital myself if I had went to the emergency room. But the ignorance towards being sick allowed me to forfeit all those things. I was fortunate enough where I'm not, my time didn't expire with COVID. Because hearing all these stories, I think I had a lot of similarities to what they had, and some way God just had mercy on me. So I would say to people, go back and listen to this broadcast again and be proactive. Go get tested, take precautions, whatever you want to. Have a young lady that's very healthy, took all the precautions, cleanliness, everything, and still had contracted COVID. So being clean, then all those things that you think that are in your power to do, you still can contract COVID, and then you're gonna not only cause harm to yourself, but cause harm to those that are around you. So don't be selfish. Go get tested and take care of yourself with the vaccination if you're able to.
Wow. Well, on that note, before I come to you, Ms. Pam, with closing remarks, let me just let you know that this broadcast today has been sponsored in part by the Leon County Task Force for Vaccination, and that task force is being led by Dr. Elaine Bryant. So certainly we want to thank the task force for the work that they're doing. They're providing education, they're providing pop-up vaccination, they're doing workshops, Zoom calls. And I want to say to all of our faith leaders, your voice is so vital during this moment. So we want to thank all of the faith leaders that are trusted voices that are speaking up in our communities, being a voice of reason, being a voice of information, being a voice of concern. So thank you so much for the work. And to Pastor Joe Davis, your site on High Road, Truth Gatherers, that's Saturday beginning at 8. The Barn Health Clinic will be there, along with Lincoln Neighborhood. They will be there. It's great to see how we're coming together, working as one to help do what needs to be done in our communities to make sure that people are reaching the level of vaccination that is needed. So once again, thank the task force, the Leon County Task Force, for the work that they're doing and being a sponsor of this COVID survival segment today, right here on Wake Up Wednesday. Pamela, what would you say in closing remarks about the importance, the need for information and vaccination? What would you say to those who are listening?
My advice is to consult with your PCC, which is your primary physician. Everybody knows their health, your comorbidities. I can't emphasize the need and how important it is, because if you get vaccinated, you protect yourself and you protect others. And that's the only way that we're going to get this. Everybody's COVID exhaustion. I get it. I am too. But in order to get us back where we need to be, get the levels down, CDC, we got to work together to do this. If not, we're taking the possibility of this COVID being mutated again. And who knows, the vaccines that we have may not work with the next strand, God forbid. So I encourage everyone to go and get vaccinated. The younger millennials, you're probably lacking. We're like 2 to 3% with that age group with vaccine. But we need you guys to do your part too. Go get vaccinated so you can protect others, your family members, your mom, your grandparents, and that we can start seeing the numbers trending down to acceptable amount, which no amount is acceptable, but where we can see the numbers in COVID, we can get rid of this thing. Or we can have a control where it is not so deadly to us. We may get sick like the flu, but it won't be so traumatic that you're hospitalized and you're dead. So I just beg everyone search yourself first, pray, always put God first, and go get vaccinated.
Great. Well, listen, once again, I want to applaud all of our guests who joined us today, from our men's panel, from Corey Fuller to Mark Vanover, Harrison Smith, to our female panel, Pamela Simmers, Linda Edwards, Cassandra Mims. I want to thank all of you for coming on and just sharing your story with our radio audience today. And I want to say to all of you that have tuned into this broadcast, I pray that you will be challenged to change. And I'm going to take the words from Mr. Harrison Smith in closing remarks. For more information, watch the replay. For more information, watch the replay. And don't forget, now on Saturday, it's happening at the Truth Gatherers Dream Center Ministries. That's on High Road. Pastor Joe Davis. It's the pop-up vaccination. Want to give a big thank you to the Family Worship and Praise Center with Pastor Quincy Griffin and his team for the vaccination pop-up that was held at the Old West Center. And also want to give a big shout out to Pastor Antoine Elwood and the New Mount Zion AME Church for the first vaccination. And now want to give a big round to Pastor Joe Davis for the third vaccination. Our faith leaders stepping up, leading the way as voices that you can trust for our COVID vaccination and information educational moments. Hey, this has been Wake Up Wednesday. Want to give a big shout out to the NAACP president, Mataki Akbar, my co-host. They're getting ready to do a vaccination panel summit. Tune into that. In the meantime, I want you to have a wonderful Wednesday. And don't forget, don't go nowhere. Keep it locked right here, 95.3. He's coming up next, the maestro of gospel, none other than Doc D. I'm out of here. You be blessed. And remember, it's happening Saturday at the Truth Gatherers Center, Dream Center on High Road. Pastor Joe Davis is the pop-up vaccination. We look to see you then.
Great show.